𝐈𝐂𝐅 Leadership Corp and has coached diverse leaders in Asia, Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, and the US. Her thought leadership has been featured at global events such as the Aspen Ideas Festival and the World Business and Executive Coaching Summit, WebEx. In 2015, Estefanía was selected as one of the 10 young leaders who are creating a better world by Johnson & Johnson and the Huffington Post. Her philanthropy was recently featured in the BBC documentary Living Without Limits. She holds a law degree from Universidad de los Andes, a master's degree in international law and the settlement of dispute from the United Nations University for Peace. Actually, this session will provide attendees a clear framework that incorporates impact as complementary goal of the coaching process. This framework is applicable to coaches that have active clients in the nonprofit, social, or environmental justice space who want to amplify their impact, or coaches operating in the corporate world whose clients are starting to wonder about their own legacy, role in the future of humanity, or about ways to make a positive difference in other people's lives and in the planet. Okay, Dr. Estefanía, please. We're looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much. And thank you also, CTA, for the opportunity to present today. It's a huge honor to be here for me to tell you a little bit about what I do, to use this space, to create this space to discuss social and environmental transformation, and to answer any questions that you may have. During today's session, I'm gonna be talking a lot, but I'm also gonna be asking a lot of questions from you, because I think the best format for this is for you to have the opportunity to also have some input, to also share your experiences, whether those are personal, your experiences as a business owner, if that's the case for you, or working with clients who are interested in increasing their social and environmental footprint. Right. So I'm trying to move ahead with this slides. Okay, perfect. So the objective for today is to provide all of you a clear framework that incorporates impact as a complementary goal of the coaching process. So that is the, let's just say, the formal objective of the session. But the real objective of the session is for you to imagine impact and to conceive social and environmental impact as part of your coaching process, as, of course, a byproduct of the good work that you're doing with clients, but also as something that is intrinsic to the work that you do as a coach. So I want to ask folks who are here, and I'm sorry, but I cannot see the chat box right now. So somebody from CTA will have to help me with this. I want to ask everyone, if you can type in the chat box, what inspired you to join? Why are you here? Why are you taking this class? Okay, so to help others, I see that. Learn more about coaching. Great. Curiosity. Okay, somebody who's been always interested. Yeah. Okay, expand knowledge, learn something new, additional knowledge. Fantastic. Great. Quest for something new. How interesting. Okay. Well, I hope that as we move forward with this session, you keep adding stuff here, because it's really interesting. I always love really learning from you and seeing why these topics are important. So my promise beyond the formal curriculum for today's session is to dig a little bit deeper with you on the what, why, and how we're going to increase impact, and we're going to incorporate the concept of impact in the type of coaching that we do. So what's who is this class designed for? So the first group of people are coaches in the NGO or the philanthropic sector. And you may be here because you coach folks who are in the social impact sector already. This picture actually is from the Ethical Coach program. I recommend everyone to check it out. It's a wonderful pro bono initiative that brings executive coaching, high-level coaching to NGOs in multiple countries, and they're doing a really wonderful job. So this is the first group, right? So folks who are already in the sector, and they're dealing perhaps with clients that have a lot, that are experiencing burned out. Clients are very familiar with their social or environmental goals, and really clients that just want to make the world a better place. So they may be already operating in this space. The next group are coaches operating in the corporate space whose clients are starting to wonder about their own legacy, or whose clients have already decided to take the leap and either transform their companies into B Corps or into organizations that have a social and environmental commitment, or companies that, corporate clients that are starting just their journey. And one example of this is Patagonia. So you can see the image here of their worn wear program, and they have a bunch of programs and strategies to decrease their environmental footprint and to just make the world a better place with through their corporate operations and the type of business that they do. So this is not just for coaches or folks who are operating in the NGO sector. This is also for coaches that operate in the for-profit sector, but are starting to wonder about these issues. So why is it really that we're here? I think the why, and again, this is related to the three sections that I promised at the beginning of the conference, is why, what, and how. So the why is really what we need to help our clients connect with. So connect with their intention. And why is this important to anyone? So I'm going to give you a couple of reasons. You already gave me your reasons in the chat box. You said, learning something new. Maybe it's important for the type of work that you do because you operate in the NGO sector, or maybe it's something you're relatively new to this. But this is a topic that is more and more common, and you hear it all the time. So it may be that you have heard about the Sustainable Development Goals, right? And you know about these aspirational goals that members of the United Nations have set for the future of humanity. So you know that countries have agreed on achieving all of these wonderful goals that you see here in front of you, and that they're taking steps, everyone, from governments to individuals to civil society to companies, to achieve these aspirational goals. It may be that you have seen something in the news that has inspired you. So recently, unfortunately, we've heard about instances of systemic racism. We've heard about how racial injustice is affecting communities around the world. And collectively, we have been exposed to a reality that many didn't want to see, that many have been experiencing during their entire lives, right? And now it's a matter of, how do I take action? So it may be that you're not familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals, but you may have heard something or experienced something that inspire you to take action. There's also the kind of importance of social responsibility and corporate responsibility. Oh, sorry.
I really want to do it here. Sure you did. Sure you did.
If CTA, okay, thank you so much. So you may have heard things about how social responsibility and corporate responsibility is more important for customers nowadays. And so it's really something that people are paying more attention to. So for example, for millennials and younger people in general, social issues really matter. This is actually information that was pulled by the Alliance ESG Investor Sentiment Study a few years ago. And it showed that people really care about the social issues that are addressed by the companies that they engage with, invest in, purchase from. So all of this story to say, whether it is a kind of international commitment like the ESG, whether it is something that you have experienced because of your race, because of who you are, your class, income status, your gender, whether it is because you want to attract a different type of customer or client, we are all starting to wonder about social and environmental impact. And I want to point this out, the importance of thinking about this framework. So extrinsic versus intrinsic and how these two relate. So what motivates people, right? Whether it's something that comes from them, they're in a way self-motivated to take action, that's intrinsic, or whether there's something to gain from it, that's valid too, right? So extrinsic motivators, people are starting to wonder about these things and want to take action. And that is especially the clients that you may be seeing now, clients that you may have in your practice, who may be intrinsically motivated. So that is they themselves, because of who they are and because of their values and belief system, they want to do something about injustice. They want to address climate change, things like that. Or they may seek some type of reward or external motivation, extrinsic, right? So they may they may be recognized, want to be recognized for the social and environmental impact that they're having in the world. So it's just said, it sounds more complicated than it is, but ultimately what happens really in the mental process of most clients, especially most clients that I deal with, is there's a set of fact or circumstances, as I said, some of them intrinsic to who these clients are, some of them extrinsic, and they're all making noise. And then there's a point of awareness. And as coaches, we need to help our clients to get there. So to identify why is it that that they're thinking so much about these issues, what is it that they can do about it, right? And gain that awareness about taking action. So here we have a beautiful quote from Berta Cáceres. We have no replacement planet. We have only this one, and we have to take action. She was a human rights and environmental activist from Honduras, and she was unfortunately assassinated because of the important work that she was doing to conserve the environment and to protect indigenous people's rights. So Berta here, she didn't say, we're gonna take slow steps to address these pressing issues, right? She says, this is urgent. We only have one planet. We have to take action. Same thing with John Lewis. And actually, this is a very interesting caption that I have here, because this is from Apple, the company, from Apple's main webpage after John Lewis's passing. So he was a United States politician. He said, never ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. Again, inspiring people to take action, to actually do something, and not just say like, let's just take it one step at a time, right? He did get into a lot of good trouble during his lifetime and his activism. He was arrested over 40 times, just making noise, trying to change things for the better, for people who look like him, for his community, for other underserved communities in the US and abroad. So as I said before, you know, this it may be that these clients are like 𝐕𝐂𝐿𝐂𝐿 𝐂𝐂𝐻 or like John Lewis, just really extraordinary individuals who are trying their best to have some impact, who are trying to change the system. But it also may be that your clients are like Salesforce or people who work for Salesforce. So companies that are increasingly thinking about how to make a difference. This is actually a news clip of Salesforce's recent strategies to plant new trees. And they, of course, have some folks who are really motivated to make a change, but it also helps that Fast Company. This is actually a clip from the Fast Company magazine. The Fast Company acknowledges them for the work that they do, right? So again, this balance between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So today we're going to talk about transformation. Again, we're not going to talk about how to help your clients take a little tiny step forward or how to, for your own personal practice of social and environmental impact, how you can perhaps do something different, right? No, we're talking about transformation, so radical change that you and your clients need to make if they want to achieve real change. So this cartoon actually really kind of summarizes it for me. So you have this corporate person here saying, yes, the planet got destroyed, but for a beautiful woman in time, we created a lot of value for shareholders. And so no, what we're trying to do is not to incorporate social or environmental responsibility little by little. We truly need a transformation, and we need it now. So what's the process, and how can you help your clients kind of flow in the continuum towards increasing and catalyzing their impact? So first is the process of awareness. And as we discussed previously, there may be a set of facts or circumstances that are affecting them. And then they say, okay, I need to do something about this, right? Like 𝐕𝐂𝐿𝐂𝐿 𝐂𝐂𝐻 at one time, or John Lewis or Martin Luther King, they say we need to do something about this. And then the next step is action. So we're going to mobilize. I'm going to make some changes in my company, or I'm going to organize my community. I'm going to write something about this. I'm going to speak about this. And then there's the advocacy. I'm going to bring others along, right? I'm going to invite people in my community. I'm going to invite people that do not think highly of me. I'm going to invite people who may be against what I'm saying. I'm going to invite them to join this movement. I'm going to advocate for these issues. And there's the ICF core competencies, because we always need to go back to what makes us coaches. So if I could ask you, for those of you who are really into the new framework and the ICF core competencies, if you can tell me, if you can type in the chat box a few competencies that come, or skills for coaches that come to mind when I talk about awareness, action, and advocacy. Don't be shy. I know you know your competencies. Fantastic. Yes, creating awareness. What else? Active listening. Yes. Great. So yes, there are competencies that are very much aligned with this. And as I said before, it's not just exceeding coaching mindset, of course, that is perfect. So it's not just about, thinking about impact as something that you're facilitating as a coach. It's also thinking about the framework and the ICF framework as something that is intrinsically related to this type of framework, right? So I took the liberty, of course, of copy pasting a few of these competencies. So communicating effectively, for example, right? Evoking awareness, as some of you pointed out in the chat box, definitely. Facilitating client insights, right? And there are things here that came up for me as I was going through the different competencies. So asking questions that clarify the client's values, needs, wants, and beliefs, right? So if there's someone who really wants to take action on social and environmental issues, what better way to explore that than in coaching? Is the perfect space to talk in a safe and confidential way with someone and clarify and discuss your values, needs, wants, and beliefs, right? Coaches need to invite their clients to generate ideas so they can move forward and see how radical this is. This is not, the ICF core competencies don't say, invite the client so they can start thinking about how to maybe take one step. No, we're in coaching because we like transformation, right? We like radical change. We like creating this awareness in clients and helping them see what's possible. Another important competency, cultivating learning and growth. So facilitating client growth. And if we tie this with growth as a social or environmental agent of change, then look at or think about all the things, the wonderful things are positive and possible. So you say, the definition of this competency is partnering with the client to transform the learning, to transform the awareness into action, right? So integrating this new awareness into new worldviews and behaviors. So inviting the client to consider how to move forward. What are the resources that you need to achieve this change? What's the support? Who are going to be your allies? What are the potential barriers? Who is going to oppose this? Who is going to oppose you defending the environment? Or who's going to oppose your company taking a leap and saying, we're not going to engage in this harmful practice anymore. We're really going to take our environmental commitments seriously. Is there anyone in your board who's going to oppose this? Is there anyone, are any of your investors not going to be happy with this, right? So thinking about how to help and accompany our client as they move from their vision to their action. The second part of the framework, the what, right? So again, the three parts of the framework that we're going to learn today is the why. So we know it's important because of extrinsic and intrinsic factors that may be affecting our clients, and because we live in a world that luckily is changing, right? With different types of consumers, with different types of just general mindsets around social and environmental impact. Now the what. What is it that we're trying to do with our clients again? So here, for example, is a snapshot of the impact assessment. This is a survey that companies need to take if they want to become B Corps. That is, if they want to become social companies or social enterprises. The reason why I'm going to give you a few tools here is so you know that when thinking about assessments, coaches love assessments, we love surveys, we love diagnostic tools, right? We don't have to reinvent the wheel, really. So there are things out there that can help you, that can help your clients. And I don't want to get into deep about what these things mean. I just want to give you a general framework so you can point your clients in the right direction if this is what they want to do. And so you're also aware that these things exist. And again, we don't need to create all of these assessments from scratch, right? So the first one that I would say is kind of very important, especially for companies. And now I'm talking about just corporate clients or companies out there that want to assess their impact and how to support their community, their worker, their customers, is this assessment. And you can find it online. It's completely free. You can see all the questions online as well. And it's extremely helpful. The other one that has been around actually for quite some time is this one, is the Global Compact self-assessment tool. And again, this is for companies as well. And it has a set of very interesting questions, all of them free, available online. You can see that this one has kind of more set lines of questioning around environment, labor, human rights, management practices. And so it's an assessment tool that is out there. The Global Compact, for those who are not familiar, is a voluntary initiative that incorporates companies around the world. So companies decide to join this. Actually, many of you may have clients, especially those who are working with larger companies, may have clients that are operating in this space and who have already joined the Global Compact. So this is available for you as well. There's another one that is very kind of widely used by, again, companies, but this is more for investors, right? So investors that operate in the impact investing side of things. So investors who are really focused on supporting companies that have an environmental and social goal in mind. So the 𝐈𝐂𝐅 𝐂𝐂𝐿, this is again a snapshot of the web page. You can find all of this information online. The 𝐈𝐂𝐅 is a metric and a set of indicators that was developed by 𝐑𝐞𝐜, which is an impact investing network to, again, help companies, investors really assess different aspects of their impact. So here you can see the categories. You see things like health, agriculture, air, climate. So you can play around and really see these resources online. Again, all of them free. I always like to give anyone that I work with, these types of things, because they already exist. They have gone through so many iterations with different companies, stakeholders, experts throughout the years, that it just doesn't make any sense to create anything new for your company. But at the end of the day, regardless of how many of these surveys you take, how many of, for example, if you decide that, if your clients, for example, decide that they want to get certified as a B Corp, and they want to take all the assessments, and they want to complete all the surveys, which is fantastic, by the way. I think that's a really valuable activity. At the end of the day, we need to really ask people, what does impact really mean to you? Right? So that's the question that defines everything. Regardless of how many of these external indicators you're following, what is it really that you want to do? And now there's the third part of this framework. Again, the what, the why, and now the how, which is so important for us as coaches to incorporate in our practices. So I'm just going to give you here a few questions that I pulled from the different assessments that I mentioned. So you can see the type of questions, and you can see a little bit of where I think coaching adds value. If you see the questions that most of these impact assessments ask companies or individuals, are things like this, right? So what percentage of energy use is produced from low impact renewable resources? Does your company outsource support services essential to the delivery of services to other individuals or organizations? So these are kind of very, very specific things that are hinting to your clients, hinting to the companies that they own, hey, are you doing any of this stuff, right? So this is what I call a benchmark type of question. And again, I pulled this from the B Corp questionnaire. So these are more close-ended questions. They really hint at whomever is taking the assessment, hey, are you doing any of this stuff? Have you thought about doing any of this stuff, right? But they don't really tap into, I think, the problem with those benchmark questions is they don't tap into the inner wisdom of the client and really help people think beyond these boxes. So what you see a lot, especially if you operate in the social and environmental sector, or if you operate in the corporate sector and you see that your clients are moving towards supporting the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, they're doing ESG type of investment, that sometimes they just want to be very superficial about it. And that is just a reality, right? So there's something called greenwashing or box ticking, which is an expression to say people are they just want to comply, right? They just want to do the bare minimum to say, hey, we have an environmental strategy, we are recycling. So it's really not about the commitment. It's really just about either legal compliance, which I think is what drives a lot of folks to do something about the environment or to support the surrounding communities, or it's just something that they want to advertise. So it could be a PR strategy, and that's it, right? So watch out for that, because what we want to do is, again, achieve transformation, not just ticking the boxes, right? So the next level of engagement is understanding their journey. Again, out of all of these motivators and these things that may have inspired them to do something and to be an agent of change, what is it that resonates with them? What is it that is aligned with their values, their belief system? And then the core of everything coaches need to do in this space is really help their clients find their true purpose. Beyond the benchmarks, beyond the compliance issues, beyond the this is a strategy that we're going to launch now to say that we are a green business, or to say that we are doing more impact. What is it that they truly want? What is it that truly drives the type of work that they want to do? So again, it's this play between the external and the internal. The external being all these extrinsic motivators, these awards, the more customers, the increase in investments, all of these wonderful external things, but also the internal. What is it that moves you? Why did you decide to do something? And that's where the power of coaching really comes through, right? So just to remind the audience of the framework that we mentioned at the beginning, awareness, from awareness to action to advocacy. And when you start driving clients, in my experience, when you start driving clients through that journey, you start hearing things like this, not from the coach, by the way, from the client themselves. Like, who do I want to be? Or who am I? These existential questions start coming up. The reason why I have a zebra there is because sometimes folks, they don't know if they are a for-profit company, if they are a nonprofit. Leaders don't know what is it exactly that they want to focus on. So there are a lot of existential questions that come with this type of process. And then the next very common questions that you may hear again from your clients, not even you wouldn't even be asking these things as a coach, but you may hear it from them, is where do I go from here? There's the awareness. I know there's something wrong in the world. I want to do something about it. This thing has been affecting my community for years. This thing affects me personally because my family is affected by it, or this thing is affecting my clients. I want to do something about this, and now what, right? So there's this sense of, I wish, almost like I wish I didn't know all of this, right? Like, I wish I didn't know any of this stuff, because now I feel compelled to do something about it. So I want to close by talking about kind of this series of buckets of work that you can explore with your clients, and this continuum from self to ecosystem, and from harm reduction to impact. So when we talk about self, and I'm just going to give you a few example questions. This is for you to reflect. So you can go back to the drawing board, and we don't have a lot of time today, but maybe you can just, in your free time, you can think about better questions, actually, than the ones I post here to ask your clients to guide them in the journey. So in self, we're very much at the beginning of the impact journey. We're just asking people about their organizations, things that they have tried and things that they really want to do, right? So it's very focused on who they are, either as individuals or as representatives of an organization or a company, and just try to kind of learn a little bit about what they have tried in the past. But we're not at a point of transformation by any means, right? Same thing with harm reduction. harm reduction is very close to that box ticking and greenwashing thing that I mentioned before. So people who are just starting in their journey, they may just want to know what's required, probably by law, from them, right? So what are the results that you're trying to achieve? Trying to help our clients who are at this stage to reflect on what would happen if they did nothing. Then we move to the ecosystem box, which is now the client is stopping, is not thinking about themselves or their companies or their organization, and that's it. They're thinking about themselves as members of an ecosystem or a community. So important questions to ask at this point for clients that are a little bit kind of more advanced in their journeys: who is important to your organization? And we can see, I'm going to give you a little bit of a list of potential stakeholders that are important for most organizations or companies. How can, and something, asking something as simple as, how can you make things better for them? Very simple. Yes, we can use all the benchmarks in the world or the indicators. We can track our impact and all of that. But at the end of the day, what we really want to ask is, how can you help these people who are around you, who are the stakeholders of your company or your organization? How can you move forward with these relationships that you have? And for this, just real quick, you can use these tools to map your stakeholders. And you can, again, design them. You can help your clients design the map of stakeholders that works for them. This is just an example. And this is actually something for me, right? My personal internal, what I call internal stakeholders, are like inner circle stakeholders: family members, employees, board members, and then the external, so surrounding community, people who are kind of close to the type of business that I do, other organizations, allies, competitors, the environment, so the actual natural ecosystem in which I operate. But again, you can help your client really map who is important to them, right? So going back to this important question. And the impact. So if you move them from just the harm reduction, just like do not do anything that's intentionally or because of neglect harmful to your community and surrounding ecosystem. Just if we move to the next stage, then there's the impact, right? So at this point, we have clients that already understand that it's not just about them. So this is not just about who they are or who they represent as a company, an organization. This is about other people, really. This is not just about PR and just about legal compliance. This is about making a difference, right? So they are much more advanced in their journey. And when we're talking about impact, questions that you may be able to ask is, how can you become an agent of change? If you could make one systemic change, what would it be? And notice the word systemic. And I'm not saying it's not valuable, but it's relatively easy to say, tomorrow we're gonna volunteer our time to pick up trash. And that's gonna be our sort of impact activity. But if we took it a step, not one step, probably many steps farther along, and we said, we're not just going to do this particular volunteering activity, let's just think about how to make systemic changes. Let's just think about how to influence policies, how to make changes that last beyond our organizations, beyond our lifetime. Think about the legacy that you want to build, right? What's the legacy that you want to be remembered by? If you wanted to be remembered in the way that Berta Cáceres or John Lewis or any of these inspirational leaders were remembered, even if you're in the corporate sector again, if you wanted to be remembered as the leader of Patagonia, of a company that really tried to make a difference. So what is it that you really want to achieve in the world? And then at this stage, it's very important to help clients step out of their comfort zone. Why? Because it's very easy to get complacent and to say, I have done enough. I'm already a very committed person or represent a very committed company. We've given millions of dollars to this thing, or I've invested all of my time and effort in this thing. So just help them think about their comfort zone. If they could do something different, what would it be, right? And it doesn't mean more work, especially for those. This is very important for those who are coaching folks in the social impact sector. So think about also mental wellness and kind of reducing burnout. It's not just about working longer hours. It's also about working more efficiently or changing things so that the work that they do becomes a little bit more sustainable. So that's it, folks. Do you have any questions for me?
You can write on the chat box, or thank you, Estefanía, first. You can write on the chat box or even speak to us, to Dr. Estefanía, if you have any questions.
Just a minute. Hello. Yes. Can I ask a question? Yeah, you was also calling. Hello. Okay. Is the third one there? Give him the phone. Let me talk with him.
I think Eddie raised their hand.
Yeah.
Oops. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. I didn't think I was gonna moderate the questions, but yeah, please go ahead, ask your question.
Okay. Is it possible to work with a client who may at some point be difficult to manage, because in the first instance he's coming to you to get answers to his questions, but most of the time we end up asking more questions than the answers they actually needed. Now, in a situation where somebody comes to you with a problem, but basically that his business is facing a collapse, and he's hoping that the guide that you give, the coaching that you leave with him, will help him generate resources to be able to get back again. I don't know how possible we can manage that, because it constitutes most of the problems that I encounter over here.
Great, thank you, Eddie. Actually, that's a great question and something that many of us deal with. So if you are a subject matter expert in a particular field, especially in my case with human rights or sustainable development goals, you may be approached by clients who say, hey, I want your advice, I want your consulting services. And that's perfectly fine. If that's what you do, but you have to clarify, right? And it's always so important as coaches to clarify for clients, these are consulting services, these are coaching services, these are the differences between both. And with consulting services, you can just, develop, for example, a list of indicators, something that we call in the field monitoring and evaluation indicators for your clients, and you can help them with that. If that's a really valuable tool that you can provide for them, but that's not really coaching, right? So coaching, especially the coaching that is done one-on-one with leaders that really want to increase their impact, is about going a little bit deeper into what extrinsic or intrinsic motivators they may have to engage in these social and or environmental activities to become an agent of change, and where are they in their own personal journey. So it's good to clarify the difference and to tell them we can engage in both if that's what you do. We can have the consultant services, but I think there's so much value in doing the in-depth type of work, the in-depth type of coaching with them, right?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I see that there are a few more questions in the chat box, but unfortunately I cannot read them. So if anyone from CTA can help
Yes,
with that.
Dr. Stefania, there's a question from Diana. How long does the transformation process for a company take on average?
Fantastic question. It can take many years. It can, quite honestly, especially if you have, and it's not only companies, actually, it's even NGOs. If you have a very bureaucratic structure with a very slow board of directors, or problematic investors, or, there's a lot of relationships that you have to take into consideration. I think you have to wonder two things, right? And clients need to wonder two things. The first one is, are they decision makers, or can they tap into decision makers to help facilitate this growth and this impact journey? It may be that you're working directly with the CEO of the organization, and they may have a fantastic relationship with the board, so they may be able to move forward with a strategy quite quickly. And that's actually one of the reasons why I love working with smaller companies, right? Like you have the facility to make changes very quickly. Or it may be that there's this person, this leader within a very complicated structure, but they can make an impact. And I've seen it time and time again, where it just requires one person who's smart enough, committed enough, and sometimes a little bit kind of either inspirational or really, really with a lot of grit, as we say, as Angela Duckworth would say, someone with a lot of grit to make something happen. And then the role of the coach is accompanying them as they try to make a change within these complicated structures.
Thank you, Stefania. There's another question from Nikki. How to know if the organization or the company is coachable?
Yeah, that's also a great question. So, well, the first thing is the willingness to change. To say, if you're working with a team or if you're working with an individual, are these people really committed to making a change, and do they think it's possible? Sometimes coaching, early stage coaching, right? Like the beginning of a coaching relationship, it's just helping people see that there's more to the status quo. There's more to what they have been doing or experiencing for their entire careers, right? So that's the first thing. Like there's got to be a willingness and there's got to be an awareness that there's something feasible and that something can be done, right? And then the next thing is, are they willing to take action, whatever that looks like? Of course, you help your client with the awareness and the design of the action plan, but are they putting effort, capital, thought even into this new strategy? Or is it just something that they want to spend 30 minutes talking about every week, every 2 weeks, and that's the end of it? So there's this process of, as coaches, you know, the key word is accountability. How do we hold our clients accountable to do more?
Thank you so much, Stefania, for your answers and for this wonderful presentation. Do we have any other questions? We still have 2 minutes. So if you have any question, please raise your hand or write on the chat box. We have also shared on the chat box all the links related to Coach Transformation Academy, where we actually load or upload these presentations or these discussions. The link has been provided on the chat box.
Well, thank you so much, CTA and everyone here. And you may contact me. You can just email me or contact me via social media. But thank you so much for your insightful questions and participation.
Thank you, Stefania, and thanks for everyone. See you next Tuesday with a new presentation and new Transformational Tuesday. Thank you so much. Wishing you all the best.